So in this video, I'm going to make 12 sourdough using supermarket flour instead of my organic flour that I usually use. The organic flour is about 12.5% protein, and this one is 11.5% protein. So because it's a new flour, I will show you how I do a hydration test, how I test how much this can absorb of the water, and I'll show you how I feed my starter, which has been sitting in the fridge. I'll be mixing the 12 sourdough in my spiral mixer. I also have a video which I released 2 weeks ago on how to hand mix. So if you need to hand mix, I've got that video. And I will bake it in my RM2020 or stone oven, which is from Master. So I've got my starter in the fridge. Because I only bake at the end of the week, I always store it in here. I don't want to feed it every day. And it's just the scrapings. Now, because this is a new flour, I'm going to have to give it a few extra feedings, because in my experience, when you change the flour on your starter, after a few days, it will get sluggish. So I'm going to feed this for about 3 or 4 days and then use it in the mix. And the reason why I only use the scrapings is because you don't want too much acidity in your starter. More acidity will slow down your bulk fermentation. So I will feed it just a little bit, give it a lot more food, and that should remove a lot of acidity. And after a couple of days, it will be nice and active and we'll be able to use it. So with just the scrapings, I will feed this 50 grams flour and 50 grams of water. Like I said, this will just remove all the acidity. 50, 52, that's fine. Get the scrapings and just break it into the water, like so. This feed's going to take about 24 hours to grow. And then after that, I'll feed it a lot more starter and a lot more flour. Open this bag. This is 5 kilos, so it should get us enough for the 12 sourdough. I've got another bag. I might have to use a little bit more of another bag. I'm just going to feed this 50 grams of flour. Mix that in. You want the consistency of toothpaste, maybe. And that's it. This first feed is going to take a while to get active. So that's going to take at least 20 hours. So it's 21.5 degrees Celsius at the moment. So it's pretty cold. And I like to have all my ingredients at 25 and also mix at 25. So just to give it a boost, I've got this homemade prover. It's got a heating mat in here. It's just an old oven that I use. And I'll put that in there. And hopefully in about 16 to 20 hours, that will be ready to feed again. I'll show you how I do the next feed. So I need to test the hydration of this flour. Because I don't use it, I don't know what it is. I'm guessing it's around about 70. But just so we know exactly what we're going to get from this flour and the water, it's a simple test you can do. So we're going to fill 3 tubs or 2, depending on how many tests you want to do. You have 100 grams of flour. Make sure this is accurate, but the starter we got away with a few grams, but this, make sure we're accurate. 100. And the last one, 100. Make sure it's accurate. Otherwise, this, even 1% with water is a big deal when it comes to sourdough. So we got 3 tubs. I get a jug, another jug, so you've got 2 jugs, because it's hard to take the water out once you put it in, so I will weigh the water separate. So this is 100 grams of flour. If we put 60 grams of water, that's 60%. 70 grams of water, that's 70%. I know this flour can't take 80%. There's no point trying to test 80%. So I'm going to try 65, 70, and maybe 72. All right, so... and I'll tip that in there. Now I will do 70. Oh, got lucky, 70. And we will do 73, I think. 73. And I'll tip that in there, like so. Get my just so I don't forget. I'll put 65, 70, and 73. We're going to mix this together and we'll leave it for an hour. And then we'll come back and we'll fill the dough. And by filling the dough, you should be able to tell that the flour's been hydrated enough by the water. Not much on my hands, so it's fine. So that's it. We'll leave that. This is the 73 one. This is the 71. Use the spatula first, and then once it's absorbed, you can use your hands. So this will feel dry at first, but trust me, it will get stickier as the flour absorbs the water. There's that one. Put a lid on top. You don't want it to dry out. And this is the 65. I already know that 65 is way too low. It is 11.5% protein, so it should be able to handle a lot more water than 65. If your like flour's 8% protein or 9%, then I would do a hydration test at 60 and 65. I can feel already it can take a lot more water. But this first step can be, it can trick you. You might think, oh, no, I can put more water, but trust me, once it sits for a long, like once it does the auto release for an hour, let's get all that flour mixed in. See, 65 doesn't want to pick up a lot of the flour, but we'll still do this test. All right. That's it. It's a lot more drier, but we'll leave that for an hour or two. See how it looks in an hour, and we'll test it, we'll stretch it. So it's been an hour, and we will just look at the dough. Whip my hands a little bit. So this is the 65, and this could do a lot more water. It's nice if you want to go 65 and go a bit close crumb, but yeah, you can see that could take a lot more water, even though it's still nice. So that's the 65. This is the 70. Just wet my hands a little bit. And this is a lot more stretchier. I mean, this is just after an hour. So this is nice. I think 70 is a nice number. Looks like it would be, yeah. Like if I was to make bread with it, it would. Let's have a look at the 73. This flour was 11.5% protein. 73 is a bit more stretchier, but it's not overly sticky. That's what we're looking for. We don't want it too dry, like the 65. See how that's a lot more drier. 73 is a little bit more stickier. You'll see it's a little bit more stickier. And the 70, personally, I think I might go 70%. But that's the 73, and this is the 65. So look, that's a lot harder, a lot softer, and the 73 is a lot more stickier. We're going to go around the 70 to 71% tomorrow when I do the mix, because I'm still waiting for my starter to grow, the first feed. We'll do a few more feeds, and in a couple of days we'll do the mix. So it's been about 2 days since I initially took the starter out the fridge. The first day took 24 hours to get up, and then yesterday I fed my starter ratio 1:1:1 about 3 times, and it proved after about 4 or 5 hours. It was a bit sluggish on the second feed, but now it's back to normal. For the recipe, I need 1200 starter. So I'm going to take 100 from here and do 600 flour, 600 of the water. That will be a ratio 1:6:6. And then in 8 hours from now, when I wake up tomorrow, this should be ready to use. So I'm going to take my tub. This is the tub I use when I do big mixes. And I'll tear that off. I'm going to put 100 grams of this starter in here. It smells good. It's not acidic. You don't want it to be acidic. And just want to take enough out. And leave the scrapings in the jar. I'll put that in the fridge after I feed this starter. So there's roughly 100 in there. We're going to need 600 water. So 595, that's fine. I'm gonna mix that in. Break it up. I always dissolve my starter into the water. It's all broken down, like so. And now I'm going to put 600 of the flour that we're using. I've decided that we're going to make this mix at 73% hydration, and we'll do that tomorrow. And I'll weigh that up tomorrow as well. So let's put 600 of the flour. At 1:6:6, this should be ready in the morning, overnight, about 8 or 9 hours. And 597. I'm going to need 5.5 kilos of this. And this is a 5 kilo bag. I've got one more that I'll be using as well, just for the 12 loaves. I'm going to mix this in. So you don't have to over mix it, just get dry spots. And I'll put the lid on, and I will mark the side where we are, and it's about there. And I'll put this in the prover, which is still set to 25 degrees. Overnight, it's currently 20.1 in my room, so if I didn't have the prover, this would take so long to do. So at 25, it should take about 8 hours. In the morning, we'll start the mix. And I'll just leave the starter now, the scrapings in the jar, until next week. So it's the next day, about 8 hours later, and the starter, it's almost twice as much, and it's still flat. It's not sinking yet, but it is ready to go. It's still on 25 degrees, and the room temperature today is 19.9, so it's pretty cold today, and it's raining, so hopefully there's not a lot of background noise from the road outside. So this is going to be the recipe. We've got the flour at 5.4 kilos, which I already have on the scale. It's only a 5 kilo bag, so I've had to add 400, well, about a kilo actually, because I was feeding my starter. So I added a kilo from another bag. We've got the starter at 1200, all ready to go. We have salt at 120, which is over here next to the mixer, so I don't forget it. And the water at 73% hydration is 3,780 grams, which is right there. Grams and milliliters are the same thing. They weigh the same when it comes to liquid. I've got olive oil, which I will be using for my tubs. So on my sheet, I will add the times and the temperature of when I add the starter and my stretch and fold. So it just helps me keep track of what I'm doing. And like I did last night, the starter ratio was 1:6:6. So 1 part starter to 6 parts flour, 6 parts water, which was 600, and 100 grams of my starter. My starter is called Susie. There's no whole wheat in this, and it's just pure white. You can download this from my website, and there's a link in the description. So we're going to start the mix. We have two options. We've got auto lees, where we mix the flour and the water and leave it for half an hour or an hour. Or you have fermenter lees, where you also add the starter to the mix with the flour and the water. We're going to do fermenter lees. It skips a step, and we're going to do one mix. So this is the method I like to use. The starter is very active, and if I just smell it, it smells like yogurt. It's not acidic, so this is great. My old starter would usually go a bit higher, but this is new flour and it's not organic. It's supermarket flour, so but it's risen to twice as much, and yeah, it's looking good. So I'm going to add all the water except for a little bit, because we need a little bit just for the salt that we're going to put at the end after the fermenter. So probably even a bit more, like so. I'll leave that. The fermenter lees, where we leave it, it's going to be about half an hour. We need 1200 of the starter, which I'll put in now. I'll put that in with the water now, just so that it mixes in. And just, it should be almost accurate. 50 grams more. This is where the breaker bar comes in good. You can use it to take it off the spatula. And 1200, perfect. I'm going to mix this on speed 1 and just let it break down the starter into the water, just so it distributes through the mix easier. We've got flour at 5.4, broken down a lot here. We'll put half the flour in now and just mix that in a bit. We don't want to over mix. When it comes to spiral mixes, you don't want to over mix. It's so easy to over mix when you're using these things, and you'll get like a dough that's really hard. It's like it'll take longer to ferment. This will stop any flour buildup from underneath. Like sometimes you put all the flour in at the same time, your mix, and at the bottom it will be still flour there. This will stop that. Okay, that's nice. It's still nice and wet. Okay, I'm going to put the rest of the flour and mix it for 5 minutes on really slow speed, just the first speed. Make sure we get all the flour out, and we're going to mix that for 5 minutes. And while that's mixing in, yeah, so I have it on speed 1, which is there. On my mixer I've got timer too, but I always use my phone. I find that to be inaccurate, so just on speed 1 till it's all mixed in, and then we'll leave it for half an hour. And about halfway through, just scrape down the sides, and and we just leave that until it's finished mixing for the 4 or 5 minutes, just so that it's absorbed all the flour. It's been 5 minutes. If you look at the dough, it's coming along nicely. We're going to leave that half an hour before we add the salt and the rest of the water. I'm just going to cover this up and set a timer for half an hour. So I'm going to get the tub ready. I'm just going to use olive oil. Don't add too much, just enough so that it doesn't stick, and hopefully get some good stretch and folds. So don't lift up the whole tub while you're trying to stretch it. I'll use a pastry brush now, just to just get the sides. You want to get mostly up about 1/3. so. You can get these tubs from a lot of shops that sell equipment for restaurants and stuff. I got these from AGC, which is in Australia, and they got heaps of these tubs. But yeah, you just want a big enough tub to fit the dough in, and that's it. That's ready for when we add the dough. And I almost forgot, the dough temperature is 23.6. A lot of people question why I do a lot of the temperature checks, and I don't actually do that a lot myself because I do all my mixes at this temperature. I kind of know where I'm at, but just for the purpose of the videos to teach people, I teach how to do a lot of the temperature checks, but I'm not constantly checking the temperature like I do in my videos. So we start at 8:43 a.m. with a dough temperature of 23.7 degrees Celsius and 74.7 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's been half an hour and it's looking good. It's already got strength, but there's no salt in this, and we need to add the salt. The salt will slow down the fermentation and it adds the flavor. I'm just gonna put this on the top, only half, and half the water. Mix that back on slow again. The rest of the salt. You can break the salt down with the water, but I prefer to do it this way. So, remaining of the water. I'm going to mix this for 2 minutes. I'm going to put this up to speed 2. I don't go over that speed. I don't want to overmix it. It's so easy to overmix on a spiral mixer. So I'll mix this for 2 minutes and we'll let it sit before putting it in the tub. It's been 2 minutes. I'm going to cut this out and put it in the bulk ferment tubs. I'm just going to cut it out. I use a knife. I'll just throw it in there like so. And there. This is only about 80% mixed. I'm going to finish it with the stretch and fold. And I'll just get this last part there. You know it's mixed good when it doesn't stick that much to the bottom. You can push this further, but I like I said, I like to go to about 80% mix and finish it by stretch and fold. You can't go backwards if you overmix. And I'll just in itself. We'll just check the temperature. Because we didn't mix very fast, the dough temperature won't creep up that much. And the dough temperature is at 23.6, so it's about 1.5 degrees, about 1.5 degrees lower than I want it to be at 25. My prover's at 25, so the room temperature is 20.3, so it's not a warm day. This is why we need the prover. So I'll put that in there. It's on the shelf, it fits good. I can fit 3 tubs in there if I really need to. And in half an hour, we'll do a stretch and fold. Even though it says first stretch and fold, it's actually when I first put it in the tub, but we did kind of stretch it. So at 9:15, it was 23.5 degrees Celsius, with 74.3 degrees Fahrenheit. We will do the second or first stretch and fold, you want to call it, in half an hour at 9:45. And then at 10:15, we will do another one. And at this point is when I will clean the mixer. And that's it, all clean, ready to go. I do have an actual scratch. You can see a little bit here. I'll tell you a funny story. Last week I was mixing, and when I pressed start, it just started to clank. And I thought, oh wow, the mixer's broken. I was looking at the engine, the speed. No, put it on speed 1. making this crazy sound. So then I was like, I better take the mix out. So as I'm taking the mix out, I put my hand in there. I left the scoop in the flour bag, and it was in the mixer. So the mixer was spinning it, and you know, it must have dented this as well. Yeah, so it was this. I left this in the flour bag, so you got to be careful. And look, there's a big dent in it. But yeah, I thought the mixer was broken. My next video, I am going to be cleaning this oven, because these stones, they come out if you actually, you see that, it goes up, and there's a lot of gunk in there. I like to clean this oven out at least every couple of months. A lot of rice flour will get down there too, and I do clean the sides. You don't use scour pad. That's the sensor. Yeah, so the oven, for a few years I've had this oven, it's pretty clean. I use it only for sourdough probably once a week, but for cakes, focaccia, pizza, I use it quite a few times, so a week. So I'll clean the top too. So I'll make a video when I'm doing this, which will be hopefully next week. So on the second stretching fold now, because the first one, we're going to call that when we put out the mixer. So let's take this out. I did mark the tub as well. I'm also going to use my Aliquot jar to take a dough sample. But first, let's just look at the dough. Yeah, it's looking good, looking good. See, I'm new to this flour too, so I can tell it doesn't feel like my other flour. It's a bit more stickier, but it's all trial. I'm testing it too, just for the video. So I'm going to grab the corner, bring it up, so. And like that. There we go. Tuck it under itself. And that's stretch and fold number 2. Let's just do a dough temperature check. I really want this to get back to 25. Otherwise, the bulk ferment's going to go from 5 to 6 hours to about 7 hours. We are on 23.5. So the same as last time. Looks like we're going to be doing the bulk ferment at around about 24 degrees almost. Put that onto my sheet, 9:45. Second stretch and fold, 9:45, and was at 23.5. And obviously the Fahrenheit would be the same. I've got this Aliquot jar, and what it does is, if you put the dough up to 0, you can see if your dough is at 20%, 30%, 40%, or 50%. This is almost accurate. This might move a little bit faster than this, but you'll get an overall idea of where you're at with this. It's got a pump that you use to pump the dough up. Put that on the end. And the trick is to get it almost near the 0. Go a bit more. And break it with your finger at the bottom. And even if you're under the 0 or a bit over, you'll know where you're at. And then it goes on the base, like so. So you've got a bit of a curve. We're on about a little bit over the 0. So we just remember that when we're watching the bulk ferment. I'll put this back in the prover for half an hour. We do the third stretch and fold. Put this with it so the temperature is the same. In half an hour, come back and check. So we're on stretch and fold number 3. Aliquot jar will not move for a few hours, or does the bulk ferment. You'll find with the bulk ferment, it starts off slow, and then towards the end, it will go faster. So the first hour or so, you won't see much change. I'll do another stretch. So, and that's it. Tuck it under. If you look at the dough, it's really coming along. It's not sticky, so we haven't gone too much over the hydration, and it's not too dry. So 73 was a good number, it seems. I think 75 would have been too much. But yeah, 73% seems like a good number. I'm glad I didn't go to the 71 that I was thinking about doing. Let's do a dough temperature check. We've gone from summer to winter, so it takes me a few weeks to get my timings adjusted. Yeah, we're going to be looking at about a 24-degree bulk ferment temperature. Like I said, the seasons has changed, so it takes me a little bit to adjust, and I'm going to have to use a little bit more warmer water next time. So this is stretch and fold number 4, and we are growing a little bit on the Aliquot jar. Put that up there. This will be the final stretch and fold, and we'll leave it in here for a couple of hours. It's been about 2.5 hours, maybe 2 hours. It's been 2 hours and 15 minutes since we put the starter in the mix. If you look on top, we've got signs of activity. We've got a bubble there. We've got bubbles on the top. So we've got fermentation. It's active. So that's a good sign. So I'm going to bring this. Like so. And that's the final one. It's got a nice strength. I can tell by looking at it. Even before I stretch and fold it, it was starting to curve on top. So we're going to leave this for about 3 hours. I'll check it in about 2.5 hours, but we'll leave this for about 3 hours now to ferment. And the next stage will be we'll shape it on the bench and then put it in Bannetons. Put that back in here. I should put a temperature, just check the temperature. So we're still exactly where we were, 23.7. So that's going to be our bulk ferment temperature. It's not really going to go up much from there. The dough will hold its temperature. We'll probably creep up a little bit to 24, but yeah, that's fine. We'll come back in a few hours and shape it. So it's been about 6.5 hours. Because of the 23.5 degrees, it took a bit longer. This is on 40-odd%. But by the time we shape this and put it in the Banneton, it will be on 50%. It's nice. We're going to cut this up into 12. So I'll just put that there, like so. So this took 6.5 hours to prove. That's because it was 23.5 degrees. Now I'm just going to pre-shape it into balls. It's very airy. It's looking really good. And I'm just going to put that there. It's really nice looking. It feels good. It feels a bit stickier than my other flour. A tad bit stickier. Like my organic flour can take up to 80% water, and this is doing all right at 73. So definitely a difference. You don't want to roll it too tight. You just want to get enough of a round ball. I'm not really tightening it that much. I'm just putting it into a nice loose ball. Okay, so the last two. So on the last one now, got a little bit of extra dough. And perfect. And that's it. I'm just going to throw some flour on the top, because I'm going to let these sit for about half an hour. Still want to push it a bit longer. This bulk ferment's a little bit slower than usual for me, but it's probably normal with this flour. So we'll let this sit for half an hour, and then we'll put them in the Banneton. So I'm going to put these in the Banneton now. I have my rice flour. The rice flour stops it from sticking into the Banneton. I use some with a liner that will give like a smooth effect. and some without the liner that will leave like the markings on the outside of the bread after it's baked, which looks good. So I'll just get on this side. You don't want to knock much air out of this. So I'm just going to, as gentle as I can, without really touching the dough. So I like to do it like a triangle. So I'll put one corner here, one corner there. And I'll just mold it. Try not to knock out as much air as you can. Be gentle. You spent all those hours building up that air. You don't want to knock it out. So the last three, I'll show you how you can watch me do the last three. See how I'm not knocking any air out of this. I'm being as gentle as I can. I'm trying not to squeeze my fingers or do anything that's going to squeeze this dough. So even when I'm doing this, I'm just rolling it. I'm putting my fingers in, but I'm not really knocking much air out. Like so. The last one. Stretching it out to give it the tension. Just putting it on, make sure there's no air trapped. Taking this, rolling it in the middle. Like so. And now they're all in the Banneton. And I like to just stitch it at the end. It just brings the sides in tighter. So like a shoelace. Be careful not to get rice flour on top. It won't stick, and pop any bubbles on top. So it's just tightening up the sides by stitching the top. And that's it. I'm going to leave this for another 20 minutes in the Banneton, and then I'll put it in the fridge. So after 15 minutes of sitting in the Banneton, I'm going to put these in the fridge. The fridge is set to 4 degrees. And because I'm going to be giving these to friends and neighbours, I'll bake them tomorrow afternoon, about midday. So about 15 hours from now. So yeah, it looks good. We'll bake them tomorrow. So it's been about 16 hours. I've had my oven preheating on 250 for about the last 2.5 hours. Let's just test. And yeah, we're on about 250, 255. So that's fine. I'm changing the blade on my scoring knife. This is from MacMaster. I got it with my oven when I bought it. Had it for a few years now. And you just screw that in there. That's it. Beautiful, I love it. Tighten that up. Just be careful you don't slip. You can slice your finger. But yeah, it's pretty cool. These are the boards that came with my oven. And the sheets are Teflon. And they're really, really good, like with heat. They don't melt or burn. I've had these same sheets for years now. I just make sure I keep them clean. They are getting a little bit dark now, but yeah, I've been using them for a while. So you can put 4 per sheet, and the oven holds 4, 4, 4, 12. I can actually put, if I wanted to in this oven, I can put 5 per shelf, and that's 15. And I have pushed it before, where I've squeezed them on like this, but they were touching, so I don't recommend it. So I'll tip these onto the board, and they're not sticking, so the rice flour did a good job. These ones will leave the pattern because there's no liner. That's what I was talking about with the lines. And this one's smooth because it had the liner in there. And I put these on top of the oven. You don't want them to be wet. They get like mold and stuff on them. So you want to dry them out as fast as you can. And the best place to do that is on top of the oven, upside down. Now I'm going to get my rice flour and just put it on some of them. Always go half-half. Might go 8 today. So, and I like to put a little pattern on the top. This is a new blade, so I've got to be careful. Don't want to cut too deep. This is the same pattern I literally use all the time. You can do other ones, but when you're baking 15 sometimes in the oven at once, you've got to get through this process pretty fast. And I only do it to the ones with rice flour, because on plain, it doesn't show up as good. That's a bad one. And I'm going to score it at a 45-degree angle, like a boomerang. So I curve it. So let me get this out of the way. So I go here, and boom. Like so. I'm good. I like this. I like the blade because I can hit this when I'm scoring. So it gives me the perfect score every time. The deepness is the same all the time. It's raining outside, so the traffic's pretty loud. Okay. So my oven doesn't have steam, but I use a garden sprayer, which does a great job. And I'll keep pumping that until it doesn't do it anymore. I'll load this up. So, first, put that in. You just yank it out fast. This doug's looking pretty good for the supermarket flour that I haven't used in a long time. That, and then I'll add this thing. Close the door a bit. Close that up. Drop this down to 210. The reason why I drop the temperature is the heat will give the dough a skin, and you don't want a skin on it in the first 25 minutes. You want it to give it enough steam, a lot of low temperature, so it will expand. And then toward the end of the bake, that's when we'll pump it with heat and get the color. So we'll leave this for 25 minutes and see how it looks. It's been 25 minutes. I'm going to release the steam now so we can get colour. There's a lot of steam coming out. They're looking pretty good, to be honest. Probably could have dropped the water a little bit, but no, they're looking good. I'm going to, I'll just turn this around there. I'm going to put this oven temperature back up to 240 so we can start working on the colour. And that will go for about 15 to 20 minutes. Put it on for 15 and add if you have to. So I've added it back to 240 and that will start getting colour. This will also bring my oven temperature up higher. So if I had another mix to do, sorry, if I had to bake another oven load after this, there'd be a little bit of a gap and then straight in. In 15 minutes, we'll come back. And I almost forgot. Open the damper. Be careful, it's really hot. Yeah. You see the steam already came out. So the bread will still be releasing steam from inside. So this will just release any excess. Like that's really, if you put your hand there, it's really, really hot. But yeah, we'll come back in 15 minutes. So it's been 15 minutes. Still a lot of steam coming out the oven. They're ready to go. So I will pull these out. Be careful of these, they've got flour on them still, so you don't want to get it over your floor, so just put them over here so they don't spread the flour everywhere, or the rice flour. Bottom shelf is always a bit lighter, but some people like the lighter. I'll keep those out too. Overall, quite happy with these, with the flour that we're using. They're pretty good. Overall, they're not bad. It's not bad for very cheap flour, which is a lot cheaper than what I usually use. Straight away I can tell the height isn't the best, but like I said, that could be too much water at 73%. The dough was a little bit sticky, so I would probably reduce the water next time if I ever use this flour again. So I will let these cool down and then I'll cut into them. If I was to use this flour more, I would definitely drop the water a bit, maybe even not prove them as much. I'm going to cut into this and see how it looks. With practice, you can make any flour work for you. So if you were using this flour all the time, you could tweak it and tweak it and tweak it until you got a better result. And yeah, it looks alright. It's not too bad. Got a bit of an air hole here, but I'll put this under better light. And that's the crumb under a better light, which is pretty good. It's still airy. It's not dense. And yeah, if I was to use this flour again, I would definitely change a few things like water. And thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.